Dr. W. talks Teleological Arguments for the Existence of God. Teleology comes from the Greek telos, meaning purpose. A teleological argument is an argument for the existence of God based on the idea that things seem to have a purpose. If something has a purpose, it has therefore also been designed. Teleological arguments are a posteriori or empirical arguments for the existence of God. This means they are based on evidence. The basic premise or starting point of any teleological argument is the appearance of design. If things appear to be designed, then they probably are designed. One of the most famous teleological arguments comes from William Paley, but he was certainly not the first to develop this idea. One of the Psalms in the Bible says, "The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands." Theists have argued for thousands of years that the existence of a God is obvious from looking at the world. The word creation itself suggests that there must be a creator. Greek philosopher Aristotle described everything as having an innate telos, or purpose. Christian thinker Thomas Aquinas later adapted this and developed a more structured teleological argument. He said that all things have an order or arrangement that cannot be explained by chance, so they must have had a designer, God. Shakespeare's Hamlet says, "What a piece of work is a man, how noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable, in action, how like an angel, in apprehension, how like a god, the beauty of the world, the paragon of animals." This reflects a widely held belief that humanity has something special about it. This has traditionally been seen to point to a creator. During the scientific revolution in the 1600s, some thinkers saw scientific discoveries as pointing towards God and the wonder of his creation. The basic idea was, the world and things in it work so well, they can't have happened by chance, and someone must have made them. William Durham, for example, saw evidence of intelligent design in the vision of birds, the drum of the ear, the eye socket, and the digestive system. Richard Bentley saw evidence of intelligent design in Newton's discovery of the law of gravitation. Both of these thinkers attempted to give scientifically based arguments for the existence of God. Scottish thinker David Hume articulated an effective criticism of these teleological arguments. First, whereas teleology suggests that the universe is orderly, Hume argued that it wasn't. He raised the question of morality, pointing out that people do wrong things and hurt each other. Also, evidence would suggest that the world is far from being harmonious. For instance, the existence of suffering, disease, pain, illness, and natural disasters. This raises the question as to why a benevolent God would allow such things to take place. From what we know of astronomy and science, stars sometimes collide, and things are not as neat as we might like to think. Hume argued that there is no obvious sense in talking about the universe as being orderly. Second, teleological arguments suggested that order is the result of design. Hume said not. As an empiricist, Hume believed that our knowledge of causes and effects is based upon our experience. We know a builder has built a house because we have seen many houses being built. The same cannot be said about the universe. We have no experience of universe making. In this way, the universe is unique. Third, these arguments said that designed things must have an intelligent, complex creator. Hume said not necessarily. He looked at the complexity of a ship. He noted that in the construction of a ship, many shipwrights are employed. Hume pointed out that the same could be said about the universe. There could be many creator gods, or demons, or something else. For Hume, the teleological argument does not necessarily lead to the classical Christian definition of God. He also stated that we've got nothing to compare the universe to, so how do we know if it's complex? Maybe our understanding is just very limited, and only slowly beginning to grow. Partly in response to David Hume's arguments, William Paley developed his version of the teleological argument. He wrote a book called Natural Theology. That means studying God through nature. He believed strongly that we can understand something about God from looking at the way the world is. He asked his readers to imagine that he was walking in the countryside and kicked a stone. If he was asked how the stone got there, he would not know. Then he asks his readers to imagine he found a watch lying there. Not just any watch, but a brilliantly designed watch that was still ticking. Remember, in Paley's day, a watch was an impressive piece of modern technology. Compare it to finding the latest iPhone today. If he was asked how the watch got there, what would he say? He pointed out that it would be rather odd to imagine that the watch appeared in the universe completely by accident. It has cogs and a clear function. It has the appearance of design. The most sensible option is to believe that it has been made by someone. Next, he asked his readers to imagine that this watch could reproduce itself to make tiny baby watches, that it could magically wind itself up. If it could, then that would increase his respect for whoever made it. He argued that if something appears to be designed, our most sensible explanation is that it is designed. Here is an extract from Paley's Natural Theology, adapted into modern English by me. Imagine this. One day, I go for a walk in the hills and hit my foot against a stone. Why is that stone here? I say. Maybe I'll answer that it has always been there. Who knows? Now imagine this. One day, I go for a walk in the hills and I hit my foot against a watch. Why is that watch here? I say. Of course, I'm not going to say that the watch has always been there in the hills. Why not? Why won't I give the same answer as I give about the stone? Well, if I look at a watch carefully, I can see that it is made for a reason, that it does a job. Each part of the mechanism inside works together towards a purpose. There is a box that spins when it's wound up. There are cogs that turn with wheels and teeth. They're made from brass to stop them from rusting. There are also springs which are made from steel, as it is the most elastic metal. The watch also has intricately designed hands and a glass face over the top of it. No other material would work so well as a transparent substance to cover and protect a face, but still allow me to see it. So when I look at all of these details of a watch and how well they're designed, it's clear that someone or some people must have made it at some point in time. Here are some more thoughts I have about the watch. 1. Even if I'd never seen a watch made, or knew anyone who makes watches, that would not change my opinion that someone had made the watch. If anything, I would think that the watch was more impressive if I did not know anyone who could make watches. 2. Just because the watch sometimes went wrong, or lost time, or had some scratches on it, that would not change my opinion that the watch had been made by someone. 3. If there was something in the watch that I didn't know what its purpose was, that still wouldn't change my opinion that someone made the watch. 4. I would not believe someone who told me that the hill must have somehow produced that watch by itself through configuring things randomly. 5. I would not believe someone who told me that the watch was produced by a greater principle that makes order amongst all things. If I find a watch, someone made the watch. 6. I would not believe someone who told me that the watch was trying to trick me into thinking that it was made. 7. I would not believe someone who told me that the watch existed because it had followed a metallic law. 8. I would not believe someone who told me that I knew nothing about watches and should stop talking about it. It's clear enough to me that it is a watch, so it must have been made. Here are 2 quotations from Paley's text. The inference, we think, is inevitable that the watch must have had a maker, that there must have existed at some time and at some place or other an artifice or artificers who formed it for the purpose which we find it actually to answer, who comprehended its construction and designed its use. The consciousness of knowing little need not beget a distrust of that which he does know. William Paley had argued that the world was too complex and well designed not to have been designed by a god. The different features of plants and animals are all so well adapted to their settings that someone must have created them that way. His watch analogy suggested that, while we can see problems with creation, everything just fits too perfectly for any other explanation to be likely. At the start of the 1800s, this seemed like an impressive argument. But less than 60 years later, the development of the theory of evolution by natural selection was to offer a powerful narrative with an alternative explanation of the origins of life. Many intelligent design theorists and others today still look at the complexity and apparent design of the universe, the world, and us as evidence for the existence of God. But scientific consensus no longer suggests that the appearance of design must point to a God. For those who already believe in God, the beauty of the universe consolidates that view. For atheists, this has been disproved. And for agnostics, as always, many questions remain unanswered.